him hear thee in the day of trouble. The name of the God of Jacob defend thee. Send thee help from the sanctuary and strengthen thee out of Zion. Remember all thy offerings and accept thy burnt sacrifices, Selah. Grant thee according to thine own heart and fulfill all thy counsel. We will rejoice in thy salvation in the name of our God. We will set up our banners. The I am fulfill all thy petitions. Now know I that the I am saveth his anointed. He will hear him from his holy heaven with the saving strength of his right hand. Some trust in chariots, some in horses, but we will remember the name of the I am our God. They are brought down and fallen, but we are risen and stand upright. Save, I am. Let the King hear us when we call. Psalms chapter 20. Deliver me from the hands of evil spirits who have swayed the thoughts of men's hearts. Let them not lead me astray, my God. Establish thou me and my seed that we go not astray henceforth and forevermore. Jubilees chapter 12 and verse 20. Yes, all praises, all praises, all praises. Let a praise go up to the Most High. He is worthy of all praise. All that we could ever give him, all that we could ever extol toward him, and everything that we could talk about his exploits and his mercies unto the children of men, because his mercy endureth forever. You have some that talk about grace. You can't receive grace without confidence in the Most High. No grace without confidence. If you don't have confidence in some person, why would they have favor toward you? If you don't have confidence in the Most High, why should he have favor toward you? Grace is an old English word. I say it over and over again, an old English word. God does not have favor toward you when you don't have no grace in him or no favor or no confidence in him. The English call it faith. The religious sector call it faith. But it's basically confidence. It's just knowing he can do what he do because he said he can do it. Confidence. Yes. Hallelujah. Yes. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Those of you on this YouTube channel, we thank God for you. You're walking with Mr. Clay. I'm Mr. Clay. Yes, we're in the book of 1 Samuel. 1 Samuel chapter 18 as you prepare. Yes, we thank God. We see what's going over there, what they call the Middle East. It's still the land of Shem. Over there in the land of Shem, we know what's going on because God gave that to Shem. It's evident just by what the maps say. Part of it was given to Esau, part of it given to Jacob, part of it is given to different Moab and all kind of people. Moab was a child of Lot. Yes, he was the child of Lot. Moab, yes. So that was the land of Shem. But because the Canaanites, long time ago, decided they wanted to inhabit the land. Now, these are all black people. Regardless of what you hear, just cast that aside. Dodge the hijack. These are all black people. These people were black, kinky-haired, in color. African-looking. You couldn't disseminate them from those who are in deep South Africa to those who were in North Africa at the time. As far as the contrast is concerned, that's because of the sin and the rejection that the children of Egypt, the children of all the black nations, of the nations of Shem and Ham, have rejected the Most High. So, and one other thing I'd like to say is that, yes, life may have begun in Africa, but the ark was found in Mount Ararat. It is said Mount Ararat, okay? We'll put it that way. Mount Ararat is somewhere near Turkey on the other side of the Euphrates. They dispersed north, south, east, and west at that time. So, no, a lot of you didn't come from Africa. You crossed over through Africa and got into America some kind of way, and whether through Pangea or the Great Divide or whatever, some of you were already in the Americas. United States of America. United States is not America. Please, thank you. Give me a break. Some of you have just gotten so word washed. You don't even know your head from your tail. United States of America. America consists of two continents, which is North and South. You have Canada, the United States. Then you have Mexico, Panama. Then you go all the way down to Argentina and all these other countries, the Yucatan, all these other places. Yes, that consists of America. So we will call them Americans, yes. You have black Americans, white Americans, brown Americans, European Americans, African Americans. But that doesn't say that the blacks that were already here, they're not African American. They didn't come from Africa. Because the fact is, it's not even culminating to that. It's just saying when they got off the boat and began in Africa and over there on the other side of the Euphrates, and then they spread out. They had to cross over. Yes, some babies was born as they crossed over and went south, and they were in the north. And now you have those who trying to claim something that God already knows they're lying, and they're being deceived by their own parents. But the fact is that make sure you understand and know your origins. So the absolute fact is that, yes, when you say you're not from Africa and you're from other countries, no, you're not from Africa. Most of the slave trade was down there in the South America. Most of the people came from South America. But yet there was a lot of South Americans that were also black before the slave trade. Now, there are some things that you need to know that the cartographers had made record of in the ancient times. For this, you might want to listen to a guy named Curie Mayo. He talks, his books and everything have some very interesting and very factual things about the origin of man who happened to be black at that time. And with that, we're going to keep going. We're in the book of 1 Samuel. 1 Samuel chapter 18, and we're going to read from verse 1. Now David was crowned king, and God defeated Goliath. See, David's confidence in the Most High, in that God had proved himself to David, and that he delivered David from the lion and the bear. His confidence in the Most High was most high. That even the size, the lion bigger than David, the bear way bigger than David, and there were bears over there in that time before the time that the land needed a Sabbath. Most of the bears went toward the south. Some of them are up in north in Russia and all the others. They went different places. So therefore, when places turn desert, animals move. They don't stay there. You see, now this is where the deception comes. See, God is very intricate in what he does. We have to understand he's intricate. God is not dumb. He knows how to hide things. He knows how to move things. Did not he take the earth, which was one earth at one time, apparently, and became divided? You say, how can this be? God, the creator. Yes, he did it all. But the fact is, David understood, and from that point on, David knew there was nothing God could not deliver him from. And he loved God ever since then, because he knew it was no one or no entity but that of the Most High. Therefore, he had no fear of Goliath, no fear whatsoever. And he only used, God can save by, as it says by Jonathan, the son of Saul. God saves by many, or he can save by few. And he can even save by a rock. See, your faith has been distorted and messed up and Christianized and Islamized and everything else. Your faith is screwed up, I'll tell you the truth. The holiness that you have, we've obtained our own holiness. We need to get to that holiness that is by the law. Obedience to the law, commandments, statutes, and ordinances of the Most High. These things are most advantageous to us, to put it that way. So in verse 1, 1 Samuel chapter 18 and verse 1, and it came to pass when he had an end of speaking unto Saul, that the soul of Jonathan was knit to the soul of David, and Jonathan loved him as his own soul. Now, you're talking about friendship. Have you ever had a friend that you just loved? It has nothing to do with this walking out of your gender. It has nothing to do with that movie called Brokeback Mountain. No, not that kind of mess. Nothing to do with that. That movie will make you throw up. It almost did me. But anyway, I didn't watch it. Just got to that point and said, it just disgusted me. No, this was a love between, like, little boys would take on to each other and grow up and become men, and just, that camaraderie, I got your back, you got my back. This is what it's like between David and Jonathan, even though Jonathan's father was crazy. And Saul took him that day and would let him go no more home to his father's house. Why? Then Jonathan and David made a covenant because he loved him as his own soul. In other words, a brother. Don't get it twisted. A close brother. There's a friend closer than a brother. Wouldn't David have said something like that? And Jonathan stripped himself of the robe that was upon him and gave it to David, and his garments, even to his sword and his bow and his girdle. Now you have to realize that the fact is that back then, maybe you would have one or two changes of clothes. Right now, many of you have more clothes than you can even fathom. You can throw a whole armful away and still have clothes for a whole week, even the poor of the land. Now he says in verse 5, David went out whithersoever Saul sent him. David was a young, strong man, not afraid of nothing. Not afraid of death, not afraid of the future or the unknown, because he knew God had everything intact. A soldier cannot be that way, no way. A military man cannot even get to the point where he's worried about the future or the past or his acquaintance with his wife or children, because he knows that it could be all over in a matter of seconds. And Saul, in verse 5, and Saul set him over the men of war. Because of what? The lion, the bear, and then finally, God delivered him from the Philistine, who ranged from, 12 to maybe 16 feet tall. This is just speculation as far as his height. And behaved himself wisely. And Saul set him over the men of war, and he was accepted in the sight of all people. Now, this is over a span of time now. You have to realize this just wasn't the yesterday after things have happened, because you had to walk here and walk there. Some things took a whole day to walk. So you had to walk. And he was accepted in the sight of all peoples and in the sight of Saul's servants. In other words, this man was not only a good-looking young man, but he was strong and confident. He was confident because he was confident in the abilities of his God, whereas Saul rejected because he second-guessed his God. And today, many of us, we second-guess, and we believe the second guesses of those who would second-guess God also. You don't second-guess God. This is why we shun the New Testament. It's second guessing God. Many of you need to get this Ethiopian Bible. You need to get that Ethiopian Bible, period. You need every book in that Bible. Because the heathen had turned it out to turn you out. And they did. They divided Africa. They came to the United States. They gave you a slave Bible and all these things. And now they even deceive their own people to they're better, and that no one of a darker hue should be over them. Or even come up to their stature. Or the poorest of them. This is the foolishness that Satan has infiltrated into their minds, or the Satans. And David went out whatsoever Saul sent him, in verse 5, and behaved himself wisely. And Saul set him over the men of war, and he was accepted in the sight of all people, in the sight of Saul's servants. God set Abraham to worry over the men of war. And the men of war loved this man. But God had a different plan. I look at God in different things. You may not, I do. Regardless of what religion they are. It all works to certain culminations. A certain, should I say, paramount, or whatever you want to call it, to a certain climax in whatever should happen here. And the benefit is toward the people. Not only the people, but a whole continent. We don't know the extent that these things shall extend to. You have the children watching this black man, tall and in stature and built and, just confident. Period. Not worried about anything. Knowing and being schooled and shown the wisdom of the elders and his choices of alliances and everything else. Whereas the fool that was before him did nothing but just allow his people to die, be misused, molested, and degraded. This is happening all over the continent. Not only there, but also down in South America. Even here in the United States, it's happening. The same thing is happening. Until you get a leader that can draw people together, that can cause people to work toward a purpose, not just the purpose of a few corporations or a few rich people or a few or one entity that really the whole West have put in place in 1948, and many of you know who I'm talking about. It's not even their land, not by any stretch of the imagination. It's all evident and be set before us. So the best thing is that it should be erased and get out of there, because it's nothing. The H-man had a good idea. That was God. He knew it was going to come down the line. And yet you put museums and stuff like this to commemorate something that are evil people. Gaslighting in their mind. They don't even see the evil that they do all over the world. Even in slavery, these same people have caused the distress of blacks. Oh, you just don't know. The cotton fields to go and be shipped to New York, where they made cloths and clothes and garments and stuff. Yes. Oh, you just don't get it. These people are evil. Hitler had a good idea to what he did to some of them. And the fact is, I could be talking about anybody, so who cares? But anyway, it's not to hate, it's to say that there's Satans, there are evil spirits at work here. There are spirits that's going to cause a certain culmination. And David went out whatsoever Saul sent him. Okay, verse 6. And it came to pass as they came, when David was returned from the slaughter of Philistine, that the women came out all the cities of Israel, singing and dancing to meet Saul with tabrets, with joy, and with instruments of music. And the women answered one another as they played and said, Saul has slain his thousands and David his 10,000s. And Saul was very wroth, and the saying displeased him. And he said, they have ascribed unto David 10,000. To me they have ascribed but thousands. Boo-hoo. And what can he have more but the kingdom? He's going to. And Saul eyed David from that day. He gave him the bombastic side eye. Let me quit though. Anybody would. If you see something, you have noticed people that think that you are better than they know that you are better than they are. It's not that they think, they know you are. But yet they're given everything. But you're chosen of God. You don't have anything. And you probably never will. But the fact is, God is using you in many ways that they don't even understand. And they give you this bombastic side eye of jealousy, fearing you of what your potential could be. These things are so even in the land of the living. Yes, it is. And it came, I'm in verse 9. And it came to pass on the morrow that the evil spirit from God came. It says evil spirit. There are spirits before God that says, I will do this. Just like the example given, where the spirit says, I will be a lying spirit in the mouths of these prophets. I think it was in the book of Kings. And he caused the prophets to lie, to tell the king to go up. Now, there was a spirit from God. God allowed him, so that spirit is from God. He allowed him to go and make Saul angry and jealous. There is no such thing as a jealous spirit. There's no such thing as a lust spirit. A man, he's drawn, his love, when lust is conceived, this is a true saying though. When this lust is conceived, when this evil desire, this desire that's against the commandments of God is conceived, just as it was in Eve. When it's conceived, it brings forth lust. And when lust is conceived, it brings forth sin. And when sin is finished, it brings forth death. In other words, you died before the Most High. God would not hear you. You've already executed what you should have caught in your heart. This is why in my heart, thy law have I hid in my heart, that I might not sin against thee. Come on here. It came to pass on the morrow that the evil spirit came from Saul, and he prophesied in the midst of the house, and David played with his hands. At other times there was a javelin in Saul's hand. This man was really the brains. And Saul cast a javelin, for he said, I will smite David even to the wall with it. And David avoided his presence twice. And Saul was afraid of David because the I Am was with him and was departed from Saul. This he could tell, that feeling that came over him when he was around him. I hate him. He done good nothing but for me, but I hate him. Somehow I hate him. Therefore Saul removed him, in verse 13, removed from him and made him his captain over 1,000. And he went out and came in before the people. Now David was a warrior. And David behaved himself wisely in all his ways, and the I Am was with him. Therefore, when Saul saw that he behaved himself very wisely, he was afraid of him. In other words, God dealt with his mind and his heart to show him what was the better way. But all Israel and Judah loved David. Why? Because he was for the people. Think about it. Because he went out and came in before them. And Saul said to David, behold, my elder daughter Merab, I will give her to thee to wife. Only be thou valiant for me, and fight the I Am's battles. For Saul said, let not my hand be upon him, but let the hand of the Philistines be upon him. In other words, God used him to delete Saul. But yet, delete Goliath. But Saul did not give him a wife just then and there. He did not just commit that wife unto him. Let's continue. And David said unto Saul, who am I? What is my life or my father's family in Israel, that I should be the son-in-law to the king? In other words, he honored the king, yes. But it came to pass at that time, when Merab, Saul's daughter, should have been given to David, that she was given to Adriel the Meholite, put it that way, Meholithite, to wife. What that is, I don't know. And Michal's, Saul's daughter, loved David. And they told Saul, and the thing pleased him. And Saul said, now, if they know that Michal loved David, the fact is, when a woman loves a man, she gonna do whatever it takes to take and protect that man and do everything to do for that man. See, he look at her and her mischievous ways and think that is wrong. But let us continue. And they told Saul, and the thing pleased him. And Saul said, I will give him to her, that she may be a snare to him, and that the hand of the Philistine may be against him. Wherefore Saul said to David, thou shalt this day be my son-in-law in the one of the twain. And Saul commanded his servants, saying, commune with David secretly, and say, behold, the king hath delight in thee, and all his servants love thee. Now therefore be the king's son-in-law. And Saul's servants spake those words in the ears of David. And David said, seemeth it to you a light thing to be a king's son-in-law, seeing that I am a poor man and lightly esteemed? Of course, you rich, she rich because of you. Who am I? I am nobody. But yet he had a lot of potential. And it was evident. And the servant of Saul told him, saying, on this manner spake David. And Saul said, thus shall ye say to David, the king desireth not any dowry, but thou shalt but 100 foreskin of Philistines to be avenged of the king's enemy. But Saul thought it to make David's fall by the hand of the Philistines. So here's David going out. He had to go out. Instead of you hear in Vietnam where they had to take out their ears and they would put them on just to fake that they killed so many men. But the fact is that David had to go out, take a man's penis, stretch his foreskin and cut it off and put it in a pouch. That's messed up. I mean, dead men's foreskins. If you can envision this, it would disgust you. Not only disgust you, it's kind of, that it's funny also. Saul would think of such grotesque things. Okay, dead men. What is a circumcised dead man gonna do for God? Nothing. And when his servants told David these words, it pleased David well to the king's son to be the king's son-in-law, and the days were not expired. Wherefore David arose and went, and he and his men, and slew of the Philistines 200 men. And David brought their foreskins, and they gave them in full tale to the king, that he might be with the king's son-in-law. I mean, to just be washing your hands for days because those of you walked out of your gender, you might not care, but Higgy no. I mean, the fact is, those days, they didn't have television and all these other things that would come about. They didn't have none of that stuff. They didn't have these things that would brainwash them. And those of you who believe in that pineal gland thing, yes, they understood the spirituality of things too. So they were used to blood, they were used to war, they were used to close combat. Whereas today, they just fly over and drop a bomb. These people were used to that stuff. But when you deal with a hardened army, what it says, what it really means by a battle-hardened army is those who are used to close combat with their opponents and have trained other men in that of close combats with their opponents and have experienced in these things. Now, David brought their foreskins. I'm in verse 27. And they gave them in full tale to the king, that he might be the king's son-in-law. And Saul gave him Michal, his daughter, to wife. And Saul saw and knew that the I am was with David, and that Michal, Saul's daughter, loved him. In other words, your plan didn't work. She's not going to be a snare to him, but a help. And Saul was yet the more afraid of David, and Saul became David's enemy continually. In other words, he just hated him. You messed up. You made some stupid, you second guessed God. You stop second guessing God, and God will favor you. Christian, Islamist, or Muslim, you second guess God using your own thoughts, your own, should I say, opinion versus the law, statutes, commandments, and ordinances of the Most High. They're still in line with your Sharia law. They're still in line with everything else, but you've just mixed something else with it. I don't know where you came from. You've listened to an angel or something, or some spirit that led you astray, some Isis or something. You did something here. And verse 30, finally. Then the princes of the Philistines went forth, and it came to pass after they went forth that David behaved himself more wisely than all the servants of Saul, so that his name was much set by. Yes, an honored man who not only defeated the giant of the Philistines, the champion of the Philistines with just a sling and a rock, but also could go out and battle hardened and not afraid of anyone, to the point where he could go out and slay at the command of his king 200 men of the Philistines. That was really foolish. And to bring me their foreskins. But the I am was with David, even with his foolish king that he had. And with that, trust in the Lord with all thine heart. I'm going to always say that, because I believe that's a psalm of David. Lean not to your own understanding, your own opinions, your own things apart from the law, statutes, commandments, and ordinances of the Most High. Don't lean to these things, but in all thy ways acknowledge him. Not acknowledge him in prayer, but acknowledge him according to his laws, statutes, commandments, and ordinances. By this you will be saved in any situation. And by this you will have peace.
Walk with me.